and Eric Sheets Haber. It feels good to say that after doing a bunch of solo ones, but we'll have Sheets in and out over the next period of time, and happy to have him today. So we're going to go through this morning baseball slate, which is actually the main slate today because the evening slate is pretty much junk, and we can touch on that during live for Showdown later. But Sheets, how you doing, man? And then tell us anything before we get into this slate.
You know what? Let's stick with the baseball.
Okay, we're going to stick with the baseball for now.
We'll stick with the baseball. So I mean, I come back and I set my projections up, and then I fire this up, and before I run my lineups, I see that the top projected point per dollar play is Chris Flexen. Is that accurate? I mean, it looks to be, and it's exactly. I couldn't have put it better myself.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, I guess. We've had a lot of these slates, and it's the end of the season, so pitchers are like only going like 3 and 4 innings in some cases.
Oh, okay.
But it's weird because it's happening both. Like yesterday, you had the Woods Richardson for Minnesota, and they're in contention. But the second he got in trouble after the first inning, he pitched 1 inning and he was out. And he was like one of the better projected guys yesterday. But we also have it happening with these teams where they have nothing to play for. So I think it's just kind of risky without certain cases. But you don't really have a whole lot of choices but to gamble on some of these guys with this kind of a slate. So what are your projections? I mean, you got that as the best of your projections, but I think there's volatility basically in every pitcher on this slate.
Well, no, but it's all good because then my second best pitcher is Tyler Anderson.
Which actually isn't as bad. That's the one I kind of like. He's got a pretty decent sized contract. Like, I feel like they just let him throw his 90 pitches. I feel more comfortable with that if things are going well than I do with most of the other pitchers today, because it's been a little bit of a nightmare. But I say that meanwhile he's been, I don't think he's gotten out of the 4th inning in his last 2 starts. So it's kind of a tricky one to do it. I'll tell you what I like. I like the idea of pitching some Keller. And I like the idea of who's my other one that I use. I'm not really playing much this morning because there are not a whole lot of tournaments that are friendly to me. I have Keller, Anderson, and then Ginn as the guys who I was looking at the most personally.
Do you think so? Obviously, somebody will, but I mean, is anybody going to get 20 today? I mean,
I don't think so.
I mean,
I don't, and I actually think that it brings in what's projected to be and we have your ownership, and I think your ownership is a little more accurate on this than SaberSim is currently. I see the argument for Colorado, but I also why don't we just play Kyle Gibson, who's a real pitcher, against Colorado on this slate when we have nothing that we like too much. It is 90 degrees in Colorado. They have a 5.25 total, but at least Gibson is a guy who, look, Colorado's been pretty terrible all year long. Why wouldn't we take a shot with Gibson here? So that was sort of, I guess, my other way of thinking here.
Oh, look at these team totals of St. Louis is playing in Colorado. Okay.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, I think they've busted. Well, they haven't busted it like in a major way, but I don't think they've reached the team total, the combined total yet in that series, which has been good for me because I haven't been playing it, but not good enough to where it led me to anything significant win-wise. But yeah, so it's a little bit of a weird slate. What are you looking at for stacks today in terms of how that's going?
Well, I imagine that it was going to be something like, whether you want to play St. Louis or not, right?
Right.
Probably don't. Let me just see what my Sims give me. I mean, it's probably ugly. Well, yeah, they want to have me play the Angels, I guess.
So yeah, okay. So that's that every day, just for what it's worth, since you've been gone.
Yeah,
has literally just tried to cram every bit of the White Sox and Angels into every line possible every single day. And they've also, wherever those weren't, they always were using the pitchers on the other lineup. So it was one of those where it was like basically you're playing a 1-game slate on SaberSim most of these days.
And just going for max volatility in the 1 game.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think it's worked yet.
I was going to say, what, like 5-3 every game?
Yeah, it's been like 4-3, 3-2. Nothing outrageous yet. So I'll tell you just what I'm doing today, because I think you're okay with 4. You're not personally, but I think that in general, I'd be okay with 4-3s, 4-2-2s. This is a 6-game slate where we have some serious volatility, and the obvious hitting spot is St. Louis, which we know we can always try to avoid. And especially the weird part is you have St. Louis on the one side, but I actually don't think that it's weird that I'm on this slate. I'm kind of interested in the pitching in the Colorado game, but I like KC as the chalky stack that I'm with, and I like getting to some Tampa Bay, and I like getting to some Texas as well. So those are the other teams that I was looking at slightly lower ownership there.
Yeah. So, and I'm obviously on today getting some non-traditional looks as far as stacks go.
Yeah, so it's coming up like some 4-2s with some 4-2s, stuff like
Which
that.
is fine. I mean, listen, on a day with no pitch, I want to say it's not that it's just no pitching; it's like there's no hitting either. It's like
right.
It's like no one's playing. It's like
right. And let me just I'm going to do it real quick. I'm going to run a build for the people out there because everybody loves. That's all that they want. They want to just see us do the build every day. So I'm going to run a funny one. I'm just going to do it for the. No, I'm not going to do it for a funny one. I'm going to do it for the relay throw. I'll just do a normal one. We'll just do it running for 20, and we'll.
I'll tell you what I'm getting. I'm getting a lot of money left on the table. That's what I'm getting.
I think that's a very reasonable thing today. That makes perfect sense to me. So let me see, especially if you're not playing the expensive Cardinals. All right, so let's do this.
So what kind of lineup do you think? I'm just staring at this. I'm just looking at one particular lineup I built with using the Sims or whatever. That it's almost impossible. I have Bobby Witt Jr.
Mm-hmm.
and leaving 2,000 on the table.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. I don't know.
How's that even possible?
I don't know. That's weird.
Well, I'm looking at the names of some of these players in the lineups, and I guess you would understand why.
Yeah, I guess that's the answer. But it is kind of strange. Like, I mean, obviously KC and again, I like the idea of like if either playing Gibson or playing Colorado, it's slightly lower ownership. But I think that I just keep avoiding St. Louis, and that's not things have hurt me in the last few days, but nothing like that. Anyway, so I'm just going to run this really quickly. I'm just trying to get the thing set. So we're doing it with Sheets' projections today for what it's worth. And I am reminding everybody that it is the last day the last week of our promo codes, which are listed below. And let's just make Salvador Perez 9.5 because I think that makes sense. All right. And we are going to build 20 and see what we get. Again, I guess it's going to be similar to what Sheets is getting over there, but we will see. They really love this Angels White Sox series. This is like the DFS dream. If you know what it is, Sheets, it's like at the end of the season when Utah is playing like the Portland Trailblazers or something, and it's just nobody in the world's interested, but the whole DFS world is totally dialed into it. That's what this series reminded me of. But by the way, speaking of real baseball, a big win for my boys last night. It looks like we're at least as on track as we could be to potentially have the World Series date with your Yankees. Hopefully we can have a good playoff run there.
Well, let me check a couple of things. Again, I've been like completely out of the loop as far as what's been going on, but I just want to check something. Are the Mets in the playoffs? Oh my God, they're just barely holding off the Braves. You kidding me?
No, and they play a doubleheader on Monday because there's a hurricane. So they were supposed to play.
Oh my God, this is crazy.
And today, so the doubleheader for all the marbles could be Monday.
I'm telling you, the National League do not want the Braves in the playoffs.
Why is that?
Because they're freaking finally hitting.
Oh no, we don't want them in the playoffs in general. Yeah, they're the best of like the underachieved during the regular season. And overachieve in the postseason.
I mean, you're catching Matt Olson at a bad time right now. Like it's like
No, I know they're hot, and that's one of these things. I mean, you look at last year. Last year, you had the Diamondbacks go to the World Series. The Diamondbacks won 84 games. They were a 500 baseball team basically all season long, and ended up going to the World Series. All right, so let's see what Saber. This is before the they went all Angels before the Sims were involved.
Hold on. I also like to say that they're just barely hanging on. I think that the Royals are, I don't want to say safe, but they're at least they got a 2-game cushion for that last spot.
They yesterday was a big day for them. Well, wait a minute. Hold on. They don't have it. They don't have the 2-game. They have the. Wait a minute. Oh yeah, it's 2 games now. That's because that's right. Okay, I had on yesterday's news. And it's 2 games over 2 teams. But you got the Royals. I mean, how about that? How about the Tigers? The Tigers looking pretty good.
You got so the Yankees are tied with pretty much with the Indians. I mean the Guardians for top record.
Yep.
And the Dodgers are tied with Phillies
Yep.
pretty much. So we got some stuff. We got home field advantage.
The Dodgers haven't clinched the division yet. In fact, it was very scary going into last night because they would have been one up with one more, and they're playing San Diego right now.
Dude, one thing I saw, I could not believe I saw this.
The triple play?
Yeah.
Unbelievable, especially the situation too with Ohtani on deck and 2 runners on, and then they tried to bunt it first, and then people were screaming and going, "Why are they going to bunt?" And you're going to just walk Ohtani, but that puts the winning run on base. So I'm like, take that. And then the weirdest thing, I don't think I've ever seen a game end in a triple play, especially one that was so big. It clinched the playoffs for San Diego. It brought them within 2, but fortunately the Dodgers pulled it out last night, and now it's back to 3. Where
I saw some guy, one of the guys I follow on Twitter, one of the DFS players, was 3 points away from like 100,000 with like Ohtani.
Right. Oh, that was the thing. There was a ton of guys. The guy who won said, "What a fluky thing of luck." He said everybody behind me had Ohtani.
Yeah.
And you've got So Deep Hope is asking a question. He said he's throwing 2 lines in today. Is Gibson versus Colorado a good option? Versus I think. So Gibson is who Gibson I like a little bit. I do think that's a good way to get different. And it's a 6-game slate, good game slate to get different. Is Waka number 1? I don't even think I don't have Waka as anything special, but he's facing Washington. They don't strike out a lot. We sort of know the rules with them. They don't strike out a lot. They don't hit a lot. I think Waka is fine, but I actually built 2 lineups and I did not get to Waka, so it is what it is. All right, so here's what we got after we ran the Sims, and let's see. First of all, let's see what type of stacks it gave us. I think it's still good. Mostly 5-2. Well, actually, it's pretty spread out. Yeah, you got a bunch of the nonsense in there. And then as far as the stack type, so they've got Colorado, and I like that actually. I think that if you play Gibson or Colorado, that's the way I was looking at this from the beginning. Then they've got the White Sox, of course, Texas, Angels. I mentioned I like Tampa Bay today. I also want to point out some just egregious projections, in my opinion, for the pitching. I don't know why Reese Olson is projected to throw. What do we have? Oh, now they're down to 73. They cut him down. When I first looked this morning, he was at 94 pitches. And I'm like, where did that come from? The guy hasn't thrown more than 60 in his last 4 times out there. What's going on? So that looked egregious. They've corrected it to some extent. I feel the best about Keller. And then I think you can play Waka, but instead of just to get a little bit lower ownership, or a lot lower ownership, I like the idea of getting to Gibson. I do think that there is enough upside for Gibson here. And he's not really pitching exactly for a contract, but he's, trying to salvage what has been sort of like an up and down year for him, which basically every season is for Kyle Gibson anyway. Anyhow,
are we going to captain Malik Neighbors tonight?
That's the question. I don't know what I'm trying to figure out how to build this thing tonight, because I did build some earlier. But I kind of like go with the other Giants receiver. Wan'Dale Robinson has been heavily involved and allows you to get to all of these other guys that are spend-ups. I'm also very curious to see how this game plays out, because I'll tell you what, if the Cowboys lose after just paying all that money to these guys, it's going to be a world of craziness in Dallas.
It's always a world of craziness in Dallas.
Yeah, as long as you have the lunatic, insane owner like Jerry Jones trying to run the franchise and basically doing a horrible job. Got very, very fortunate with his coaching decisions in the 90s, but does not belong where he is. Deep Hope says Lamb only captain. I do like Lamb, but I don't think there's certainly nothing strong about a Lamb take as captain. I think, or Neighbors for that matter. I think they're both going to be extremely popular. I'm just going to take a quick look at that, because we'll talk about this stuff later when we go live for it. But I'm looking at the captain ownership, and you've got Dak, Singletary, actually a little lower than I thought. But look, there's a lot of ways to go here. Really depends on how you want to build. If you put Neighbors in, you're going to make some uncomfortable flex decisions that are not necessarily ideal in playing guys like, I don't know, maybe Zeke or something like that, which I would hate. I like the Dowdle. I like the low-owned Wan'Dale Robinson captain idea, because it allows me to get everything in. I think Darius Slayton's worth a gamble at captain. Those are the sort of the things I'm looking at, so I can make sure I get CD, Prescott, and Singletary. I mean, everybody's been running all over Dallas. I don't see why it would stop now. And all right, let's see what else we got. It looks like everybody's asking football questions, which we can get to later. We haven't done the football first look thing. Do you want to? I had a plan for 12:45, but we can just jump on.
Just do your thing. If I can get in there, I'll get in there.
Okay, sounds good. All right, man. Well, I don't think there's a whole lot left to talk about for the baseball slate. So Good luck to everybody today. Tomorrow will be the last, big major slate of the year that I'm playing anyway, and that should be fun. But
when do the playoffs start?
Well, they're supposed to start Tuesday. I'm wondering if any of this weather is going to affect anything.
Oh, right. Yeah, got that Braves hurricane stuff you said, right?
Yeah, they had to cancel the 2 games, and that's most likely going to decide a playoff spot in the National League.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's kind of wild. And I thought it was great too. People and by the way, I got a little angry at some people online yesterday because they were saying, "Oh my God, what a tragedy! What a disaster this series is for the Braves and the Yankees." I'm the Braves and the Mets. And the disaster is the hurricane. This is just a little minor inconvenience. This is a really serious hurricane.
It's pretty funny.
It's going to be the real problem. All right, well, so we can get out of here. I'm going to be back in a little bit just with the NFL stuff, and I think that's pretty much it.
So guys, just so you guys know, I did do the survivor pool thing, and I just thought about it. I just made it free again, whatever. And the MMA stuff will be coming up. We'll get everything up at some point. I got a better chance of sneaking in those and projections, depending on how my new job's caregiver is going. So
yeah,
we'll see how that goes.